Hey, how are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing well. All right, let's get started. We got 1 and 2 step equations. All right, so before I get into it, what I want to show you, you're going to need to know this rule. And this is called inverse operations. Basically, all of algebra is using inverse operations. So you have to learn this. And it's simple. All it means, I want you to think in your mind every time you hear that, or every time you think of algebra and solving an equation. I want you to think of opposite. Is that how you spell it, with 2 P's? I think so. Opposite. Okay, opposite. So basically, it means that whatever operation is happening in the problem, you need to do the opposite to solve it. Now, in the beginning, it's kind of difficult because you see a problem telling you to add, and here I am telling you to use this rule to subtract, right? So let me show you what I mean. So I've written some problems down here. So let's take a look at the first one. X minus 6 equals 13. So X minus 6 equals 13. This says to subtract. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, I know this. Yeah, but we're not using guess and check. Stick to the method, because if you can solve this using the method, you'll be able to solve the more complicated ones. So here, there took something and subtracted 6 from it and got 13. So how do I backtrack to find the answer? Well, I'm going to do the opposite and add. And really, why am I really adding? Because I want to create a 0. What I'm really doing is just grabbing this number and moving it to the other side. So you've heard the term, whatever you do to one side, do to the other, right? Because you want to keep it balanced. So we're going to add 6 here, and we're going to add 6 right here. All right, that's our first step. So this becomes a 0, right? We got a 0 there, and all that's left on this side is an X. Then you got equals, and then 13 plus 6, which is going to give me, oops, I wrote 13. The answer is 19. Excuse me. Sometimes I think too much. Anyway, X equals 19. I hope you see what I did. I did the opposite, just like I was telling you, right? Let's try another one here. Let's see. Let me erase this real quick. Come on, erase. All right. Let's try 16 equals 3 plus G. All right. Same concept here. What I'm going to do is this right here. Notice there's nothing in front of it. When there's nothing in front of it, that's a positive 3. So you got to ask yourself, how can I make that a 0? Well, take 3 and subtract 3. And whatever you do to one side, do it to the other. And then here you got a 0, which you're left with G on this side. Here's my equal sign. And then 16 minus 3 gives me 13. So therefore, G equals 13 would be my final answer for this one. All right, great. Let's keep moving right along. Now, if you notice this one is asking me to multiply. This is 5 times m. That's what that means, 5 times m, the value of m. So again, I told you to do the inverse, the opposite. So that means I'm going to divide here by 5. Oops, divide here by 5. And whatever I do to one side, make sure you do the exact same thing to the other, right? So 5 divided by 5 equals 1, right? There's a misconception that people say, well, this cancels. Well, it doesn't cancel. This becomes a 1, is 1m. But usually how we write it is just m. That's 1m. And then 15 divided by 5 is 3. So my answer for this one is m equals 3. All right? Let's try another one. Okay, on this one, what I want you to pay attention to, this is k divided by 8 equals 2. Again, I'm going to do the opposite, but there's a couple of things I want to show you about this. So first, let's go ahead and solve it. So we got k divided by 8, so that means I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. Multiply both sides by 8. So that means right here, where's my pencil? There we go. Multiply here by 8. And multiply here by 8. Okay? Now, these two 8s are going to simplify, leaving me k by itself. And this is just going to equal 2 times 8, which gives me 16. K equals 16. Now, what I wanted to show you about this type of problem, let me get some space here, is that you rarely will see something written in this manner. Okay? This is really how you'll see it written. K over 8 equals 2. What I want you to do is stop thinking of this as a fraction. These are all division problems, all of them. So I want you to think about that. The K is being divided by 8. Let me show you one more thing about this, because sometimes you'll see it like this, but most of the time you're going to see it like this. 1 over 8 times K equals 2. What I want you to know that this problem up here, the K divided by 8, the K over 8 equals 2, and the 1 over 8 times K equals 2 are all identically equal. They mean the same thing. They look different, but they mean the same thing. It's like having 1 over 2, which is half, and saying that's the same thing as 5 over 10. Yeah, they have the same exact value. They look different, but they have the same exact value. Okay, so this last one here is the most common one. That's how you'll see it, and this is how they solve it. Just like I did the first one, they're gonna take the they're gonna take the 8 and multiply it here, and you'll see them do this right here. So this 8 simplifies with that, again, not canceling, but creating a 1. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 1K, right? Or 1 times 1K is 1K. So K equals 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Okay? Same exact answer because it's the same exact value. So I hope you like these little tips that I give you, and make sure you write them down so you don't forget them, because I bet you no one else is going to give them to you, all right? So let's move on to two-step equations, all right? Here we go. So on this next one, as you can see, we have 2y plus 3 equals negative 11. Now this is a two-step equation. Excuse me. Basically, two-step equation means that I'm going to use two different operations to solve this. So not exactly that it means it only takes 2 steps to solve it. It means I need 2 operations to solve it. Okay, so either addition and multiplication, or subtraction and division, or something like that. Some combination of that sort. All right, so let's get started again by doing inverse operations. So we got a plus 3 here. Now remember, when you have something like this, you want to get rid of the number that's by itself first. That's called a constant. You want to combine it with the other constant in the equation. And then you want to deal with the coefficient last. The coefficient is the one with the variable. All right, so let's go ahead and inverse operations and subtract 3 from both sides. Okay, now we have 2y equals, now when you have two negatives like this, go ahead and add them and keep the negative sign. So that's negative 14. And then that was my first step, is subtracting 3 from both sides. Now notice I have 2 times y equals negative 14. So now I'm going to go ahead and divide here by 2 and divide here by 2, because it's being multiplied 2 times y. So again, I do the opposite, which is divide. So 2 divided by 2 equals 1 y. So I got y equals negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. And that would be my final answer for this two-step equation. All right, let's do a different one. Here we go. On this one, we have 4x minus 15 equals 1. Same as the first one. The only difference is that this is a subtraction problem. Again, think opposite. So that means I'm going to add 15 to both sides. So plus 15 plus 15. All right. That becomes a 0 right there. Negative 15 plus 15, which I'm left with 4x equals 16. All right, that was my first step. Next, this is being multiplied times x, so I'm going to divide both sides by x because I'm doing the inverse. 4 divided by 4 is 1x, and then 16 divided by 4 is 4, so x has a value of 4 in this particular problem. All right, let's do one last one here real quick, one that's a little bit different. okay, these type of problems are actually easier than they look. A lot of people get scared as soon as they see a fraction. They think, oh my goodness, that's too complicated. What do I do? Do I need a common denominator? Whoa. Deep breath. All right, it's not that complicated. All right, let's take it step by step. Remember, you can't eat the whole cake at once. You got to do it slice by slice. It'll taste a lot sweeter. All right, so here we go. We have a plus 7, so we're going to do minus 7 to both sides. Okay, so we're left with half x equals 1 minus 7. It's going to give me a negative 6. And now, the part. What happens here is just you multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1 over 2. The reciprocal, that means you're going to flip it over. So I'm going to multiply here by 2 over 1. And I'm going to multiply here by 2 over 1. Right? So that's it. It's a division problem. Remember, I told you all fractions are division. 1 divided by 2. So now I'm going to flip it over and multiply both sides by it. So what happens here on the first one is 2 divided by 2 and 1 divided by 1 all equals 1. So you have 1x, right? Because that equals 1, that equals 1. So you have 1x left over. And that equals whatever this equals. Well, that whole number gets multiplied times the numerator. That's all you have to do. 6 times 2. Okay? If this number was something other than 1, then you would go ahead and divide by that denominator at the end. But since it's only 1, all I'm going to do is multiply 6 times 2. And that gives me negative 12. And that would be my final answer. All right. I hope you like all these little tips. Listen, make sure you're grabbing a notebook. Make sure you're writing these problems down. If you didn't write them down right now, go ahead and play this again. Go straight to the problems and write them down. They're excellent examples to have for your notes to help you with your homework, exams, and all that stuff. All right. Hey, if you got some value out of this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. All right. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time on Math Quest. Have a good one.